My name is William Chalmers, and I will be discussing cell phone use amongst teens and the mental health issues that are associated with teens who are on their cell phones constantly. I'm sure you're probably wondering, Will, why did you choose this topic? Why do you want to talk about teens and mental health and how it plays a factor with one another? I chose this topic because I work every day with high school students who I see them constantly on their cell phones, and it's just something that intrigues me on why now we have such an issue with teens, really anybody in general that's constantly on their cell phones all the time. Because I can remember being in high school back in 2014, which was not that long ago, 10 years almost, and that wasn't a thing. We had cell phones, but it was never an issue. Like social media was kind of big back then and with like Facebook, but as far as like just constantly being on the phone, it wasn't something that I don't think we ever had a problem with. And this topic interests me because I want to know more about it. Why are teens on their phones? How is it related to mental health issues? And it relates to me personally because I work with kids who have their cell phones all the time, and sometimes I find myself constantly on my cell phone. So here is my content page, and the subjects that I'm going to be talking about are the facts about mental health, how teens are affected, the signs to look for when you think someone may be having an issue with cell phone use, like too much and addiction, ways that you can help and support someone who you think may have an addiction to cell phone use, and then my reference page where all of my sources can be found. So here are the facts about mental health. The website Centers of Disease Control and Prevention Center explains that our mental health is our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. And according to the website World Health Organization, otherwise known as WHO, the article Mental Health of Adolescents explains that 1 in 7 10 to 19-year-olds experience a mental health disorder. That is very shocking that 1 in 7 from the ages of 10 to 19 years old. And how teens are affected. The facts. Teens spend countless hours in a day on their cell phone. I personally see this every day at my job. So that was a fact that I agree with from the source that I found, that teens spend countless hours in a day on their cell phone. And according to the website Pew Research Center, Catherine Schaefer writes an article that explains that teens use their phones to pass the time. So we're seeing that teens are using their phones basically because they're bored. I even in class, so a little backstory about me, I do credit recovery for high school, and credit recovery is a course where you failed math, English, science, or history. Those four core courses that you need in order to graduate, along with electives, but I don't do elective courses like art, science, etc. So we had a conversation one day. Why is it, or why do you think I'm having so many students? I asked my students this. Why do you think that I have so many of you guys that are failing classes and you end up with me constantly? I understand that several of you actually have difficulty with certain subjects, and that's beyond my, that's when something else needs to be done when we see the same repeat students in my classroom. But for some, I actually had some students admit to me that they're on their phone because they're bored in class. The lessons are not engaging. So that's something to consider too. Also, roughly 43% of teens use their cell phones to avoid interaction with peers. That is 100% true. When I am in my classroom, I try to do incentives. We have PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Intervention System. I try to do rewards in my classroom whenever they're getting their work turned in. Also, I look at Power School, which is a way that we take attendance and I can see their grades in other classes. I look at that, and if they're bringing up their grades, if they're passing, we do little stuff like games, and I give them free time and stuff like that. But there's several students who just simply refuse and would rather be on their cell phone and interacting with their classmates, which I find that so shocking. That's another thing that I'm trying to work on, is phasing them out of just constantly being on their phone so much when we're in class. And then 72% of teens admit to checking their cell phone notifications the second they wake up. Okay, for one, I can admit, as a 27-year-old, I even do this. But that is because I'm trying to see who emailed me, what's going on, is there anything I need to be concerned about before I go into work. So that's the reason why I do it. But for teenagers, I don't really see why that would need to be the immediate first thing that they do when they wake up. And here's my page about the signs to look for. If you think someone is struggling with cell phone addiction, texting while driving, that is a big one. I see this, and I'm pretty sure some of you see this a lot. People are constantly on the phone when they're driving, whether that be a cell phone, they're texting, or they're on the phone with somebody. I know I'm also a school bus driver for the high school that I work at. Every day, no matter what, I'm leaving the parking lot and we're stuck in traffic in front of the school waiting to leave. There are students leaving the parking lot on their phone texting constantly. If I could do a count every day, at least the cars that pass me, at least 15 of them have a cell phone in their hand and they're texting. That is very shocking. And another sign to look for is a negative effect on school. They might not want to go to school. They might have issues inside of school. They might just have their grades. Their grades could be slipping because of the phone. Family issues is another one. When you're constantly on the phone, you are isolating yourself from your family. You don't want to be around them. You want to be in your room maybe. You want to be glued to that screen and avoiding interaction at all cost. And social. Of course, anybody who's on their phone is not going to be social. They're going to be more focused on the thing that's in the palm of their hand rather than talking, communicating, interacting with people, getting to know people. That's something that's essential, especially for a teenager. Emotional functioning, not being able to regulate their emotions, happy, sad, all those emotions that they could be feeling, especially sadness. Sadness is another one that's linked to teenagers who constantly use their phone. And the need to respond immediately to text messages. That is another one that is big that I see, especially if they don't power their phone off, especially in the classroom. Immediately they're like, oh my God, who texts me? Especially because, I know on iPhones, and I don't know if Androids, but iPhones, they have the notification where you can set for like a flash. Your camera will flash whenever you get a notification, like a text or anything. And if they have that camera face like towards the classroom and it goes off, they're immediately like, I've lost their attention span, and they're glued on what is going on in that cell phone. Who texted them? That is another one that was shocking to see. And how we or you can help support a teen who has an addiction or you think may have an addiction to constantly being on their cell phone. Educate them. Let them know about the pros and cons of having a cell phone, the positive effects of having a phone, and the negative effects of having a phone. Bullying is a big one that, especially with social media, they don't know how to handle certain situations. They could be drawn into, negative effects on the internet. So just have those pros and cons conversations with them. Let them know. Monitor their cell phone use. I would say, not necessarily monitor when I was reading up on this, not necessarily, hover over them all the time, but definitely ask questions if you notice anything that is out of the ordinary. Establish screen-free zones. That is one that I can talk about for days. At the dinner table, at school, places like that. You know, cut the screen out. Don't allow them to have a cell phone. Especially at the dinner table when you're trying to interact with your family after a long day of being at school. You want to know how your day was. Build those, conversations up. In the classrooms, I know at our school, this is the first year that we've done it where we've done a cell phone free, like a strict no cell phone policy. Every teacher is supposed to, the student is supposed to place their phone into a cell phone caddy. I have a classroom cell phone caddy. The way mine works is I'm not giving actual instruction like my coworkers are. I'm not teaching a core class or an elective. I'm helping them earn the credit that they just failed. So basically what I do as a incentive for their phone, everybody's phone goes into the cell phone caddy when we first start a semester. And then how I base it off of, if they're passing their classes with a 60, because that's the passing grade now. If it's a 60 and above, and you're on track with your credit recovery progress, I allow them to keep their cell phone. But there's still stipulations. You may have your phone for music, to check text every once in a while, but it's not phone in the hand and you're just forgetting about your work. So they actually respect that, and I've actually had students who, when their phone goes into the cell phone caddy because they're behind on their work or they're failing another class, they take it serious and they're actually like emailing me, "Hey, Mr. Will, I brought my grade up. I brought my grade up in this class. Oh, I turned this assignment in and my teacher hasn't put the grades in, but I just want to let you know that I've actually done it." So that makes me feel really good as a teacher, that they love their phone and they want it, but you're having to work for it, but they're actually working for it. They're not sitting there like, okay, well, I don't have my phone, I'm just going to go to sleep. No, they're actually trying. So that's actually one that works. Several other teachers have tried it too. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely establish those screen free zones, because if you don't, they will, especially in education where I work, they will take full advantage of that. And I see that constantly because I have one student, for an example, I'm not going to say any names. This student is failing one of his classes miserably. Grade is like below a 15%. But in the next class, he has an 85. That makes me think, okay, what is going on in this class that is so different from the one that you're passing? Is it the people that you're around? Are you just not? And I'm looking, and the student is not turning in any assignments, but that student is there every day. That lets me know that student is either A, talking to a group of friends and just not doing the work, or they're glued to their cell phone. That is another one. And then also model healthy boundaries. So with model healthy boundaries, I took that as, you know, let them know when it's okay to have it, when it's not okay to have it, but don't be overbearing. Don't jump all over them when, you know, they do mess up. Just have those healthy relationships with them. And then here is my reference page. That was all the information that I had as far as the research for cell phone use amongst teens and how it affects mental health. I hope I was able to get you to understand how mental health relates to cell phone use, and vice versa, because it was something I never really thought about until this year of being in the classroom and just seeing how much cell phones really do affect our youth, like how they are so glued to those screens. And I just wanted to do some research to figure out more about it because I was so curious. And I just hope that I was able to show you all the information that I gathered. And thank you so much for your time.